Well, it finally happened. Bradley Beal officially took the contract buyout and he did pick the next team that he'll play for, that being the LA Clippers. This coming from Shams Charania, so I think we can confirm it. And I'm not sure about you guys, but his notification really got me here. I seen it pop up on my phone saying that Bradley Beal's agreed to a contract buyout with the Phoenix Suns and plans to join the Los Angeles ... So I had to quickly open up my phone and see, is it the Clippers, is it the Lakers here? Knowing it would probably be the Clippers, but it kinda did have my heart sink for a second. Not that I didn't want Bradley Beal, but I didn't expect it, so him joining the Clippers and therefore bypassing the Lakers, who apparently did have interest in him, but the interest was not reciprocated between them. Beal probably not seeing them as the primary destination for him with the best playing time, the most money to offer, and so on and so forth. So he joined the rival LA Clippers, and they do have the potential to be a pretty damn good team here. Now combining a trio of Bradley Beal, James Harden, and Kawhi Leonard with a pretty good supporting cast around them, that definitely is a new threat in the West. Or I guess maybe a bigger threat in the West. Though with that in mind here, how does that affect or potentially benefit the Lakers now? Obviously they didn't get Bradley Beal, but the free agent market might be open again. That's kind of what a majority of the free agent market was waiting for at this point. Whether you're talking about the teams that are trying to sign him, everyone from the LA Clippers, LA Lakers, Milwaukee Bucks, Golden State Warriors, and so on and so forth, they had kind of been hoarding their biggest contract they had left to offer in hopes that Bradley Beal would take it. For the Lakers, that was their biannual exception, having roughly 3.9 of the maximum $5.1 million amount. I like the imagine they would have offered that to him and definitely are hoping that he would take it, albeit an outside chance, and obviously it didn't happen. For Golden State even having their non-tax pyramid level exception, not sure if they would have offered him the full amount of it, but that's kind of what they were doing and a part of why they were waiting, and so on and so forth. Milwaukee, other teams, that's what they were waiting for here too. So now with Bradley Beal officially off the table, they can offer that to a different free agent, and more free agents will likely start signing deals again, as we hadn't really got much in the past week or so now. So with that in mind here, what does that mean for the Lakers and who might they target with Beal now off the board for them? Well, there are a couple of 3&D kind of free agents left, maybe a little bit more of 3 or D, not some real true 3&D options, but I think we can all agree that's what they need here at this point. Pointing to their roster and pretty much their entire rotation, they don't really have a true 3&D option, especially not a true 3&D wing. I mean, hopefully Jake LaRavia becomes that for them, has shown flashes of it, but can't quite call him a reliable option quite yet. Hopefully Adu Thero becomes that one day, but definitely has ways to go yet. And they really don't have a true option to point to here. So in my opinion, that's definitely what they should, and according to reports, is what they are trying to target too. According to Brett Siegel of Clutch Points, the Lakers have been hunting a 3&D wing on the open market, kind of referring to both the free agent market and the trade market, even pointing to Andrew Wiggins, though he's no longer a possibility for them apparently, which I don't think is a bad thing given the price for him. But that is in fact what they're looking for here, and is what they should be looking for here in my opinion too. And with that in mind, who's the best target, or maybe the best targets for them on the open market? We'll talk about that and go through my favorite few options left for their team. Now I've talked about a few of them already, so I won't spend much time on the repeated mentions, but I do have a few new mentions that I do want to talk about here as well. And beginning with those, I do want to talk about a recent addition to the free agent market, that being Kogi. Recently getting some hype by Laker fans following his contract buyout or simply being waived by the Charlotte Hornets, now becoming a free agent and definitely does have plenty to offer on defense. Now I've been seeing fans call him a 3&D option, and I'm not sure I'd agree with that. Kind of a D but no 3 option. Occasionally can be a good 3-point shooter, more of a sporadic and kind of inconsistent shooter, but has shown good moments I guess. Up until this point though, only a 29.9% career 3-point shooter, so definitely not good enough to call him a reliable 3&D option. Has had some good moments again and even shot roughly 38% from 3 with Phoenix last season, only in 25 games though, and immediately went down to 32% after being traded to Charlotte, though like I said, he does have more to offer on defense. In that regard, definitely is a very good producer, is a primary defensive option, and can take on some very difficult matchups at the point of attack. And then with his massive near 7-foot wingspan, I think even a flat 7-foot wingspan, does have the ability to guard some wings. I mean, I wouldn't put him on a Kevin Durant for example, but definitely can match up with some medium to smaller sized wings, and defend both point guards and shooting guards at the point of attack as well. On top of that is a defensive playmaker, having a career average of roughly 1 steal per game in 19 minutes per game, translating to nearly 2 of them per 36 minutes. Definitely good to simply be a defensive pest, whether it's poking the ball away, getting in passing lanes, picking up guys full court. Josh Kogi is very good at that. And then finally, to point to the age with him, I feel like he should be older at this point, but still is only 26, will be 27 by the time the season begins, but does theoretically fit that Luka Doncic timeline. I think this would be more of a short-term addition for their team, so I don't really care too much about that, but is 26 and wouldn't be declining anytime soon, so you can point to that here as well. Overall though, I like him, but I wouldn't call him my favorite target for their team. I think they definitely have to prioritize defense here, and that is what a Kogi can offer, but they need a somewhat reliable shooter to come with it. And with a Kogi being a 29.9% career 3-point shooter and under 32% corner 3-point shooter, I'm not sure I can call that reliable. Wouldn't hate it again, and I wouldn't be entirely opposed to it, but I might have a few additions ahead of him that I would prefer. One of which being a guy like Amir Coffee, for example. Following the Clippers adding Bradley Beal, I think that kind of seals his fate with their team. Unlikely to be brought back with their team, and if he would be brought back, it would not be for the same role with their team. Played roughly 24 minutes per game last season, and he would likely only get a fraction of that now with Bradley Beal in the mix. Still having guys like Derrick Jones Jr., Kawhi Leonard obviously, James Harden, so on and so forth. That would be a bit of a mix that he wouldn't factor into as heavily anymore. Then for the contract that he would get and likely would get from them, wouldn't be more than a veteran minimum, so I imagine that he will look elsewhere for both a contract and a bigger or at least a better role than last season, which the Lakers might be able to offer. Yes, they did add Jake LaRavia, do have some other wings in their rotation, but I think Amir Coffee would add something to their rotation that they don't really have right now. That being at least a somewhat reliable two-way player, isn't the best defender and is more of an offensive 3-point shooter, but isn't a bad defender, roughly average on defense and good enough to be called 3&D in my opinion. And with the offensive and mainly 3-point shooting ability tacked onto it, there's a lot to like here with Amir Coffee. Up until this point has been a 38.4% career 3-point shooter, coming off a very impressive 41% from 3 on 3.4 attempts per game, translating to nearly 5 of them per 36 minutes, so was a fairly high volume and hyper efficient 3-point shooter last season, including him shooting over 46% on corner threes and being a 42% career corner 3-point shooter. So pairing that with guys like LeBron, Luka, Austin Reeves, that would definitely be a fun combination. Sticking him in the corner or wing and being a catch and shoot guy for them, being a somewhat decent option on defense and definitely not a liability on defense, is big enough to play both the 2, 3, and even 4 in some matchups, so I would not be opposed to Amir Coffee. Again, definitely not the defensive option that a Josh Kogi is, for example, but more of a two-way player as he is at least decent on defense and well above average in regard to 3-point shooting. Though if they're looking for more of a better defensive option and maybe a little bit better of a 3-point shooter, then I might take a look at a guy like Javonte Green. I've seen pretty much nothing about him and isn't a guy that's really ever talked about or really looked at that much, but low-key has actually been a pretty good 3&D option over the past 4 years now. Is a super good defender, really underrated in my opinion, and definitely a defensive playmaking option. Over the past 4 years now has averaged roughly 1 steal per game in only about 20 minutes per game, even less than that. Per 36 minutes on his career average is roughly 1.8 steals per 36. Is a very good point of attack defender, even physical and athletic enough to defend small wings, so he is one of the better options on defense on the open market that's not being talked about in my opinion. Then on top of that, over the past 4 years now has been a decent 3-point shooter, shooting roughly 35% from that time frame. If you only take it from 2021 to 2024, was roughly a 37% 3-point shooter. And then in regard to corner 3-point shooting, which is what he would primarily be doing on offense for their team, is a career 37.3% corner 3-point shooter, so actually a little bit above average here too. Now he's not an incredibly high volume shooter, only a low volume catch and shoot guy from the corner and wing, but with the defense combined on here, with the athletic ability and simply how hard he works on the court, this would not be a bad option for their team in my opinion. You know, definitely again not the popular pick and probably not their first priority on the open market, but it would be an addition that I would be completely fine with and probably would give them more than many people expect that he would. I mean, if you like Josh Kogi as an option, then you probably should like Javonte Green here too. Is a better 3-point shooter than a Kogi, is similar if not equal on defense to a Kogi, is the better athlete, better rebounder, equal if not a better hard worker on the court. So if you're talking about a Kogi and like what he has to offer, then you probably should like what Javonte Green has to offer too. Though if you don't want to go that route and do want to go for more of a wing defender, more of a bigger wing defender, then I guess you could point to a guy like Cody Martin. I've talked about him, so won't go too far in depth here. Kind of like with both Kogi and Javonte Green, isn't the best 3-point shooter, but is a very good defender. And not to mention a defensive playmaker too. Having a career average of 1 steal per game in roughly 22 minutes per game, once again translating to roughly 2 of them per 36 minutes. The problem here again being the 3-point shooting. Isn't a great 3-point shooter, has had some good moments, and even had a season back in 21-22 where he shot 38.4%, taking roughly 2.2 per game, and that was in 71 games played. So if he could get back to that, maybe with better playmaking around him, and the Lakers obviously do have that, maybe he could replicate that and be a decent or above average 3-point shooter again. And if that would be the case and combine that with the defense, then he could be a very good option. Then for a different free agent I've talked about and covered before on my channel, this would be a guy like Gary Payton II. I guess more of a point of attack defender rather than a wing defender, but he definitely does play bigger than he is. You know, once again, not the best 3-point shooter, is under a 35% career 3-point shooter, but then again is a 39.3% career corner 3-point shooter, so there is a way to get around that with him. Combine that with the defense, with the athletic ability, with how hard he works in the court, and I would not mind that option for them either. Though apart from the free agent market, and if we're going to hope for the buyout market, then maybe we could eventually wait and try to get a guy like Marcus Smart. Like I said, following the Bradley Beal buyout, maybe another contract buyout will follow that one, and the Washington Wizards will have to do something to get their roster down to 15. At the current moment, they have 17 players under contract, and obviously it can't stay that way. By the end of training camp, so they do have 2 months left to do it, they will have to trim that down to 15. Whether that's waiving either Marcus Smart and or Chris Middleton, maybe somehow finding a trade for them and getting their roster down to 15 while doing it, but they can't trim it down eventually. So if that would be the case, and if Marcus Smart would hit the open market, I definitely would have interest on the Lakers here. Once again, isn't the best 3-point shooter, but is by far the best and most proven defensive option if you'd hit the open market. I mean, we're talking about a former Defensive Player of the Year award winner here, and that's incredibly rare for a backcourt player, but Marcus Smart did do it. Then tack on the playoff background with him, you know, not a championship background, but does have plenty of playoff experience, would fit a more veteran team and a team trying to compete for a championship, which the Lakers are trying to be here, so wouldn't mind the addition of Marcus Smart. Might even be my favorite option if he would hit the open market and if you would pick their team thereafter. That might be another option, but is not a current option, so keep that in mind here too. But with all of that being said, I think following the Bradley Beal contract buyout and then signing with the LA Clippers thereafter, that will lead to the free agent market heating up again. I mean, with other teams having been holding out and holding a contract in hopes that Beal would take it with their team, that contract and that roster spot will likely be put toward a free agent, which means that other free agents will then take the contract and get the free agent market heated up again. Hopefully meaning that the Lakers will make their move, waiving Shake Milton, opening up a roster spot, and then signing a more true two-way option and hopefully finding a 3&D option, maybe somebody that we talked about here. But what do you guys think? Following the Bradley Beal contract buyout, how do you think that'll affect and maybe benefit the Lakers? Will it lead to them signing a different free agent? Will it lead to them maybe making a trade instead, or what will they do here? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. But I think that'll pretty much do it for this one, and if you enjoyed the video, then I'll greatly appreciate it if you dropped a like, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and hit that notification bell to never miss out when I upload a video. But as always, thank you for watching and have a great day or night.